Hey Mike, one of my arms is bigger than the other. What do I do? So, if one arm or leg or whatever is lagging, then that's usually a matter of activation. Meaning, whatever you're doing to train that arm, you're probably not using the muscle properly. So, like when you're doing a curl, it's very likely that you're using your delts first, or that you are using a little bit too much of the wrist, or you're losing your lats as you're doing it. But with the other arm, you are stricter, right? Now, of course, asymmetrical muscles is normal. Like even Arnold had about an inch difference between his two biceps. So when you have something asymmetrical, always make sure that you do lots of single work, right? So like if your legs differ, then do lunges and step ups and so on and so forth. Whereas if you're using the leg press, for instance, the stronger leg will do absolutely about 80% of the work. Same with pressing and all that sort of thing. How's the sound, by the way? I know it's noisy in the background, but I'm doing the best I can here. It's just a busy time in the gym, surprisingly. Okay. Then somebody asked, hey Mike, what's the difference between CrossFit training and bodybuilding training? Okay. This person did not ask, hey Mike, please badmouth CrossFit. So I have an opinion about CrossFit, but let you know. So in CrossFit, the idea of training is to complete a lot of reps in a short period of time, right? Those reps are being done with a lot of momentum and not always with proper form. Whereas in bodybuilding, ideally, the reps are done to stimulate muscle growth. So what's the difference? To give an example, in bodybuilding, a row would be super strict, right? It would be like the body would pedal to the floor and you're just using your lats. Whereas in CrossFit, the initial row would be starting from, let's say, the lower back, then the lats, and then the traps working the very end, okay? So that's the difference. The outcome is also different. So in CrossFit, the only thing that matters is how many reps did I do in that period of time to do well in the competition. Whereas in bodybuilding, the idea is how much did I stimulate the muscle. So in bodybuilding, it's like, okay, I need this muscle to work at all parts of the strength curve, such as the contracted and the stretched phase. Now, the issue is that the stretched, contracted phase are weak, right? So in CrossFit, they would be eliminated because that would cause us to lift less weight, okay? So that's the difference between CrossFit training and bodybuilding training, which is also why you have CrossFitters training 2 hours a day, but not having that much muscle, whereas bodybuilders at 2 hours a day are humongous. There's more time under tension, okay? By the way, you guys can type questions out if you have any more, otherwise I'm just gonna go what was submitted beforehand. Hey Mike, I'm working really hard in the gym and I have nothing to show for. I make zero progress. That's a very broad question, of course. But generally speaking, and this is being very, very general, when people don't make progress in the gym, the issue is usually twofold. It's lack of activation and nutrition. So they're thinking they're working hard, and they are, but as an example, they're benching like this, right? So then it's all shoulders, nothing comes from the chest. So if you're not progressing, you gotta step back and be like, okay, do I actually use the muscle or do I just throw weights around? Because you want a lot of time and attention, but most people, they get a little bit of tension here, a little bit of tension there, but nothing continuous because everything is done HIFO. So that hinders your gains. And the other one is nutrition. Like, you will be surprised, there are people, I just had a client, she thought she was so dialed in until she actually contracted out to a meal service and got her meals delivered and she lost 7 pounds, and she realized she had no concept of portion control whatsoever. So in my experience, when people don't make progress in the gym, it's not because they're lazy or slacking. It's usually because their workouts are, more weightlifting type than bodybuilding type, and they're simply not eating the right foods, okay? But again, that's a very, very broad question, so it's very hard to like diagnose somebody on the internet, needless to say. Then, hey Mike, what are the top 5 supplements? Okay. The bigger question is, do you need supplements? And the thing is, you don't, okay? Supplements are called supplements because they supplement something that you already do. Now, if I had to say like 5 supplements you should consider, it would be in no particular order ZMA, zinc, magnesium, because that's what people are deficient. Then there is green powder, which is really like just dried vegetables and fruit. Creatine, a lot of research, and then there is caffeine, okay? Everything else is really not worth the money. And I'm taking out protein powders because that's more food. But people, they always get things wrong. You understand, supplements are at best, and that's at best, 2% of your success. So let's get the other 92% right, and then we worry about supplements, okay? Needless to say, the supplements that really work are actually really low priced also. So that's interesting. So that was that question. I'm sorry I don't have a cool supplement to sell you. When I have my own supplement line, of course, then I'm going to tell you to buy only my stuff, needless to say. How heavy should you train? That's a good question. So you should train as heavy as you can in good form without failure. So what does that mean? So you should train in a way that allows you to lift a good amount of weight. You shouldn't drop below 6 reps or go over 15. It should also never be half reps or ugly reps or that sort of thing, because they will just get you injured and not contribute to your gains whatsoever. You should have a weight that also, an exercise that actually works for you, needless to say. So the exercise, you should be able to create tension, okay? So as an example, my brother is really tall, okay? He's about, what is it in inches, like 6'8" or something, right? 2 meters and 5. So for him, barbell squats are like not doable because, you know, his knees will travel. So he can train heavy in the barbell squat, but for instance in the trap bar squat, that works really well. So you should train heavy, as heavy as you can, in exercise that allows you to create the most amount of tension within that muscle, okay? That's the answer. Next question is actually related to this, and that is, what is failure? So there's different types of failure. There's like the broski failure, which is like, yo, what, I got this, take it off my chest now. No. Failure is when form suffers or the speed goes down. So for instance, if, let's say you're curling, right? And you're starting to move the arm forward and you're using your lat here, okay? That's, the set is done. Because whatever you're producing now is just garbage reps and will injure your shoulder and your elbow. By the same token, if the speed slows down greatly, cut it. So doing those extra reps, despite popular belief, is not going to make you bigger, but it simply will be in a way that your recovery goes down and your injury risk is going to be greatly increased, okay? So that is simply not a good idea to train that heavy. Training frequency, how often should you train? It's a good question. So basically, despite what the internet says, you can train almost every day, okay? Because most of us don't do anything. I mean, physically, that is, okay? So the issue is that people think like, if I train my chest more than once a week, I'm gonna explode or whatever. Okay. Have you seen speed skaters' legs? Or Google this guy, Roland Förstermann, he's a cyclist. His legs are humongous, okay? Do you think he rides his bike once a week? No. You can train each muscle at least twice a week, okay? As long as you stay away from cheat reps, ultimate failure, overuse of stimulants, you'll be just fine, okay? In fact, frequency beats anything in terms of success, okay? So the more often you can train, the more progress you will make, okay? So, I mean, if I didn't have to go to work, I would love to train 3 times a day, you know? It's just, unfortunately, I have to make money and I just can't do so, okay? So you can train much more often than what the average YouTuber tells you. That's total nonsense, okay? So, I mean, think about it, like if some guy trains his chest once a week, another guy twice, so that's another 50 sessions over the year. Who's gonna be bigger, providing we have proper form and all that sort of thing, right? That's not even a question. So that was a training frequency. What about abs? Well, abs is interesting, right? I mean, with abs, there's like common sense just went out the window, okay? So each muscle we train from like 8 to 15 reps, 2-3 times a week. In abs we're doing like hundreds of reps, and we have ab classes. And stop. That is not a good idea, okay? Jason, I got your question, I'll get right to you, okay? 1 second. So the abs, they can be trained like 3-4 times a week. I prefer weighted abs, like crunches and then weighted vacuums for the internal, just like any other muscle, okay? So in fact, I have so many clients that have gotten injured from ab classes and doing extensive ab work. They hurt the lower back. It's just nonsensical, okay? Mike, what is a normal fluctuation at a particular set point? So let's say you have reached a certain level of leanness that you're quite happy about with your physique or so. How much do you fluctuate there? I would say like about like 1% or 2% in either direction. So I'm like 230, right? That's kind of like where my body likes to be. If I want to be bigger, I gotta force feed because I'm not a big eater. So at the very best, I go up to 234 and I drop down to 227. So that's really my range, has been for the last, I don't even know, 6, 7, 8 years, you know. Like I said, like if I want to get bigger, I really got to cram food down, which is just not a good idea. So yeah, once you have reached your level, like a percent up or down, that's really all there is, okay? I had something else here. Frequency, what makes a bodybuilding pro? That's a good question. Let me tell you what does not make a bodybuilding pro, the drugs, okay? People always think like, oh, if I take a lot of drugs, hold on, the question, I get to that. So bodybuilding pros, okay, first of all, they have several advantages. They have better genetics, they have a better symmetry in their body, narrow waist and so forth. Then they have the ability to eat more food than you and I can without getting fat. They have the ability to train harder and recover. And they also handle drugs better. I mean, they can take fewer drugs and have less side effects. So the problem is that the average gym rat goes to the gym, trains a bit, and then takes drugs, doesn't look like Ronnie Coleman and Jay Cutler, and thinks they need more drugs. And then they get really, really sick, okay? That's not how it works. The drugs do not make a pro. It's all the other things. For instance, if you give me everything that Lance Armstrong ever took, I would still suck at cycling because I have short legs and a long upper body, okay? So these guys, if you look at them before they even touched anything, they were like bigger than you and I combined, okay? What's a better diet to build muscle and lose fat, carb cycling or keto? Neither. Every diet works, okay? I'm not a fan of keto, especially for building muscle because you need the carbs. But in general, like anything that's calorie controlled, be it intermittent fasting, be it high fat, low carb, anything but low protein really works, okay? So carb cycling I find a bit difficult for civilians, you know, it's too tricky as the body weight fluctuates. I'm more of a low fat guy with my clients, but that's just me. Would you rather pyramid up weight or reverse pyramid for hypertrophy? I don't like the pyramid. That's another thing. The pyramid is too broad. So the pyramid is like one of these Chinese stores in New York City where you can buy everything, but nothing really works. So you start here and then you pyramid up to the top. It's way too broad of a percentage range, so you're training your body in too many different layers. So at most, there should be like a 5% differential in terms of what strength is required for the weight. There is a video on the YouTube channel about wave loading. You want to look that up. That might give you a better idea as what I perceive as a better idea for training. But the pyramid, Charles Poliquin was right, is not a good idea. How hard should you train? Like what's the intensity that somebody should deliver? Well, again, intensity is not throwing stuff around and grunting and screaming. You know, intensity is like properly executing your workout and consistency. So consistency and frequency beat intensity any day. So all this, I mean, I talked about this before, but all this stuff that's like beast moding and this, that, the other, that has to go, okay? So it's like I've trained with people, especially my swimming coach, that have really, really gone very far in the sport. And I've never seen anybody throwing up or getting injured. It's just like it's almost like you go to work, okay? And you build your physique over time, but you simply cannot do like this 3-hour monster workout on a Saturday and then expect to get huge, okay? So frequency and consistency is what makes you bigger. So in general speaking, like what you have to consider, like how much time do I have for my goal? Is it realistic? Is it in line? And then from there on, the question becomes, okay, how do I cram every muscle twice into the week? And then from there I look up the exercises that allow me to create most tension. And then from there on, I figure out, do I cover the entire strength curve by doing that, okay? So that's really how you should break it down. Okay, so I got room for one more question if anybody has something, otherwise I just pull it from the book. Can you grow muscle after? Yeah, absolutely, you can grow muscle. I mean, needless to say that like it is obviously harder as we get older, and you know, there's a certain downslope. But actually, I had this conversation with a client, and people say, "Oh, my metabolism slowed down after this age," and it's like, okay, there's the hormonal aspect, but when the metabolism layer slows down, what this really means is you played sports in high school and college, okay. And then you stopped, so you lost the muscle, that's why you slowed down, okay? But the slowdown, it's not like your metabolism says like, oops, Jason is 30 now, let's slow down, okay? It's just like, I mean, I still consume quite a few calories and I'm in my 40s, so it depends how active you are, how much muscle you have. But yes, it can absolutely be done. What is better to grow muscles, machines or free weights? Well, as always, it depends, right? Like, a lot of people, and this is probably going to sound like blasphemy for a lot of people, cannot train with free weights properly. They don't have the coordination. So now they're being pigeonholed or crammed into this, like, you got to do this and that because the bros say so, and they just can't, okay? Most people cannot do a body weight squat. They simply can't. They're not flexible enough. So if you give this guy a barbell on his back, what's going to happen? He's going to get injured, right? Of course he's going to get injured. Well, what else is going to happen? Whereas if you're putting this guy into a, you know, a leg press or like an assisted squat, he does just fine. So, you know, as always, it depends. Like, you know, machines have their place, and then free weights, for instance, like, you know, if I have a bad night and I don't sleep well, I'm not going to try to be King Kong and lift free weights. I'm just going to use the machines, right? And by the same token, can you build muscles with lower weight? Absolutely, you can build muscle with lower weight. You just simply train to failure. You're probably going to get a bit high on the reps. But there are studies done, I think Brad Schoenfeld was it, that you can absolutely build muscle with a lower weight. So there's no need to go that heavy, you know. So like in conclusion, you always gotta think of the science and just, you know, don't be a sheep, you know, don't be like, bodybuilder X does this. You gotta understand that a lot of people in the industry they're in shape despite their training, not because of, okay? Because they are genetically so gifted, and also then the drugs help them, that they look a certain way, whereas their training is simply not, you know, what you and I can do without getting injured, okay? So guys, I gotta go back to work. I'm gonna do this every week, Wednesday at 11 Eastern. Please chime in, and thank you for watching this premiere edition today. And if you're in the US, have a good Thanksgiving. Mike out.